What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel and another full mix walkthrough. Today I'm going to show you the full process of how I mixed a hip hop track from start to finish using only Waves plugins. So the track's called Entei. It's by an artist named Persia Grai and it's out on all digital platforms. I'll leave links in the description for the song as well as contact details for the artist. Now, if you like what you see in the video and you want to get your hands on the template that I created from the mix project that I show in this video, please check out my Etsy page. Links will be in the description for that as well, or you can find it here, Adam Lewis Mixing on Etsy. You'll see here I've got a number of other templates from my other videos as well. Reviews and ratings. These are doing okay. People seem to be enjoying them. So if you do want to get your hands on this, maybe it can help with your demo recordings or just practicing your mixing techniques. Do check that out. If you want to get your hands on it, it's there for you on the Etsy page. So before we dive into how I mixed the song, I first wanted to show you this, which is the kind of raw sound of the mix, how it came to me with just the stems for the beat and the vocals. So this is an instrumental and a vocal mix. As you'll see, there's not a lot going on in the mix. It's quite a simple track. Got drums here, bass line, a few instruments, and then just a couple of vocals here. So we've got a chorus main, a verse main, and some ad-libs. But I did add some extra touches when it comes to the mixing as well, but we'll get to that in a sec. But I just wanted to play you this raw project so you can hear what it sounded like. And I'm going to point out some of the things that really stuck out, the things that need fixing, and then we'll dive into how I actually created the final and finished sound for the song.
Yeah, ayy, only facts, you know we don't got no cat. Y'all been sleep, I let you nap. You want greatness and I'm that. Only facts, it's only facts. Shorty pretty, shorty strapped. Send your number through the snap. Back in the cut, fucking it up. There was a wolf before you heard a rust. I got the hits and beat you to the punch. Paula Deanna, you doing too much. I heard the news and I knew you get cut. You heard the fuss and you knew it was us. Rapper police know I wanted this cause I'm behind these bars but I'm yet to be cuffed.
Yeah, so first of all, the instrumental clearly needs a lot of work here. The levels are all kind of off. A lot of leveling needs to be done. The kick is not really punching how I'd want it to punch. The snare is a little bit subdued and not exciting enough. It's not got enough high end on it. Some of the levels just really need sorting. The bass is kind of muddy and not defined at all. The instruments are kind of muddy as well and not got enough brightness on them. They need brightening up. And then of course the vocals are always going to need a lot of work. But let me just play a little part of this instrumental and hopefully you see what I mean about that. Yeah, so overall it's just very muddy and some things are just sticking out when they shouldn't be, like that snare roll there and the open hats, they're too loud. So we'll get to that in a sec. Let me just solo the vocals here and show you them as well.
Yeah, back in the cut, fucking it up. There was a wolf before you heard a rust. I got the hits and beat you to the punch. Paula Deanna, you doing too much. I heard the news and I knew you get cut.
Yeah, so obviously the obvious things like they need brightening up, they need some dynamic control with compression and stuff like that. But also there's a lot of low end kind of rumble, mouth noise coming through, pops. So that's going to need filtering out as well. So that's kind of the main things that I identified from that. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. But we're going to try and attempt to mix this song using a minimal amount of plugins. A lot of leveling and basic EQ and things like that, plus a couple of other kind of added things. So that was the idea for this track, not to do a really complicated mix. I'm going to show you now the fully mixed project and I'll explain that further. So now we're in my fully mixed version of the song and you'll see there's a few added bits and bobs here. I'll explain all that as we go through the video. I want to play the instrumental now as it is fully mixed and then we'll show you what I did from start to finish on all of the layers here. Yeah, so hopefully you can remember how it sounded before when I played you the before. Now you hear things are just a little bit more in line. The kick is kicking a whole lot more. It's punching a whole lot more. The snare is standing out a whole lot more as well. It's more in your face and more as we want it on a hip hop track like this. Some of the levels have been sorted. The bass is a little bit less rumbly and has more definition and stuff as well. So that was the finished sound of the instrumental. And as I mentioned, I wanted to keep this mix really quite simple in an attempt to kind of demonstrate that one, I'm only using obviously one manufacturer's set of plugins here. I'm only using Waves plugins. So it's definitely always possible to kind of limit yourself in this way. And sometimes I actually like to do this rather than using countless plugins from countless manufacturers. You know, it is possible to kind of limit yourself and say, I'm just going to use what's available here and I'm going to make this sound right with the tools I have. So that's one kind of idea behind this doing the mix in this particular way. But the other thing is that we don't need a whole lot of stuff. If I go through here, just go through all the channels, you see that there's 1 or 2 plugins on all of these sounds here, as well as 1 plugin here on the actual instrumental bus. So to get that from that raw sound to this sound is really not a complicated issue. You know, you'll see the faders here going up and down. So there's some leveling stuff, and then just basic kind of compression, EQ, as well as a couple of other tricks. Actually, before we jump into the mix of the instrumental, I just do want to demonstrate the kind of structure and the layout of the mix, because if you do end up getting your hands on the template for this, this may come in handy to help kind of guide you through the template as well. So as you'll see, I've just got 2 kind of track stacks here, or buses, an instrumental bus and a vocal bus. Really simple. So all the instrumental stems are contained within this instrumental bus, and all the vocals are contained within this vocal bus here. If you've watched my other videos, you'll know that I usually break this down into much smaller sections. So I usually have like a drum bus, a bass bus, an instruments bus, and then like a chorus, a verse, you know, ad-lib bus, BV bus, whatever. I have a lot more buses. So that's generally how I actually mix songs. But for a song like this, which is really straightforward, I kind of set myself the task of not doing that and keeping it a lot more simple. You know, you'll see here, there is a number of plugins on these vocal channels, but not like a crazy amount that you might see on some of my other stuff. So it's just to kind of demonstrate that for a straightforward song like this, for just a basic rap song, you really don't need a whole lot in order to take it to a pretty good sounding mix. So yeah, I kept this really simple so that it's easy to follow in the video. And also, if you get your hands on the template, you'll be able to work through this, record into it, and be sounding decent without a whole lot of kind of work or a whole lot of getting your head around the actual structure and the layout of the mix. So anyway, we're going to mute the vocals here and take a look at, let's solo all the drums and take a look at them and what we did. So the first thing to get right on a hip hop song like this is obviously the kick. The kick and the snare are going to kind of drive the tune, drive the song, obviously, and, you know, be the main rhythmic elements for the song. So for the kick, I felt it was lacking a lot in punch. So if I show you what this sounded like before, let me also turn this bus processing off this instrumental bus as well. I'll show you what this sounded like with nothing on it. So really kind of anemic, you know, it's not got enough real thump in the sort of lower region. You know, it's really kind of thin and not doing a whole lot. So the first thing I drew for was this R bass, and this is one of my favorite Waves plugins. With this, it just does something really magical sometimes to your bass or to your kicks. And I don't often use this on kicks, more so for bass lines and things, but for this, it really worked. And it just helps to bring out the bottom end. So I've got this down at 75 Hertz here, and I've kind of took some of it down. You know, it's not a high intensity on here. Let me show you what this is doing before and after. That down at 7.5. So yeah, as you'll hear, it's just adding a whole lot more body in the lower end of the kick there. And as you see, as you turn that up, you know, you can really turn that up to taste if you want more of it, if you want less of it. After that, we went into this EQ here, which is the R6 RTA, kind of basic Waves EQ. And with this, as you'll see, I'm kind of reducing some of the 200 Hertz region here, a little bit of mud and boxiness. Try to remove that here, and I'm boosting up again down here at sort of 50 Hertz. Quite a subtle change there, but it really does help to just, as I say, remove some of that boxiness and then things that we don't want, and helps to add even more thump in the kind of lower end there. After that, I went into the Pultec EQ. Again, one of my favorite EQs from Waves. And again, we're just adding a little boost here at 60 Hertz and a little boost as well in the kind of mid-range. So again, just adding more body and more punch to that kick. So we'll play this kick before and after all the processing. This is with nothing. So just a whole lot more meaty. There's a whole lot more going on in that kick there, and it's really doing the job that a kick on a hip hop song should do, in my opinion. We move on to the snare now, and the only thing I'm using on this is the pull tech again, and I'm just doing a massive boost here, around 10 hertz, but with quite a wide kind of bandwidth on that as well. Yeah, so it's obviously kind of adding a lot more level to the snare because we're boosting that region where most of the stuff is actually happening on the snare. So just bringing it out, making it a whole lot more bright. And we've got this snare too. Very similar, just boosting some of that kind of mid-range there to kind of bring it out. And that snare is obviously quite low in the mix, but it's providing that nice little reverb that we've got on the snare there. Next, we've got these hats, and I'm not going to go over this, in too much depth because you'll see here, I'm just doing a little reduction here in the kind of upper mids here. I felt like it was a little bit harsh in that area, so I just removed a little bit from that, and that's all I've really done, as well as turning them down a little bit here as well on the fader. So really just reducing the volume on them. And just, as I say, just taking out a little bit of the harshness. We've got this second hat here, which is kind of doing the little kind of rolls in the hats. So with this, I wanted to get some real stereo width going on with them. So the first thing I did was the same EQ that I've added on the hats here. I did here because it's the same sound. So I just wanted to get them kind of starting from the same place. And then I used this Brow Emotion plugin, which is kind of like, I used it in this case like a tremolo, where it's just basically a panner. So it's basically panning these hats really quickly from right to left. And I think it just creates a nice stereo effect. There wasn't a whole lot of stereo information in this beat, in this instrumental, so I wanted to create more width and more kind of exciting moments with stereo widening. So you hear on these fast parts, this part here in particular, you hear how it's just nicely kind of using both speakers and blending, going between the two. I've got this on a really fast rate, 132. So it's doing a really fast kind of panning job there. You'll see how quick this thing's moving here. So yeah, pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but it's just a nice little touch. Then we've got some open hats here and literally doing nothing. There's an EQ there, but I'm not doing anything. I just turned it down a whole lot. Okay, then we got this snare roll here. And if you remember from when I played the raw sound of this instrumental, this was super loud. So the first thing I did was just turn this all the way down here, minus 14 dB. And then we've got the same Brow Emotion plugin on here. Copy and pasted that from the thing that I did on the hats above, but I turned down the rate to 116 instead of 132. Again, just creating a moment of stereo width, of something happening in the stereo field, which is kind of adding a little bit of excitement and kind of ear candy for the listener. Now on to obviously one of the most important parts of the whole track, which is this 808 bass line that's going on throughout the whole song. As you'll see, other than these kind of breaks in the first half of the verses, this is a pretty constant sound throughout the whole thing. And this is one of the things that I identified as a kind of trouble area on the original stems that came through. Just too much kind of woolliness and too much warmth in the kind of lower mids. They were really muddying up the mix. So I tried to do a few things to kind of clean that up here. Let me play this raw first of all. Yeah, so first of all, I've turned it down a little bit. It was a little bit too overpowering. Another thing to mention here is you'll see that there's actually another 808 here. That's kind of the high frequency range of an 808. So this one here doesn't really need to provide any of that kind of more mid-rangey information. So as you see here, I've done a low pass filter and I've took out all the highs and mids from from this first 808 here, and they will be provided more in the second one, but we'll get to that in a second. So yeah, the first thing I did, as you see, reduce some of the kind of muddiness here in the 200 kind of region, and then took off all the high end and mid-range information from it. For me, that's just a whole lot cleaner. It just cleans it up straight away. Just this little reduction here, as well as taking out this the mid-range parts of this, just removes a lot of the muddiness for me and makes it a whole lot clearer. The next thing I did was use the sidechain compression from the kick. So obviously this is a trick that you're probably familiar with. If you're trying to get more headroom or trying to make your kick stand out over the bass, we use sidechain compression. So I'm using the R compressor here, and the sidechain for this is the kick. So I'm literally just compressing the bass when the kicks hit to reduce the bass at those moments where the kick is hitting. And it just helps the kick to stand out, and it helps to kind of not have two things fighting for the same space. And that's all we did on that main 808 there. And then we've got this 808 high channel. I'll play this in solo actually. So this is kind of like a saturated or distorted version of the above 808. It's doing the same thing, but it's providing some more kind of mid-range and high-end information. And this will help when it comes to kind of cutting through on smaller speakers or on a phone or on the laptop. You know, this will help their bass line to still be there even when you're not hearing the super lows of the bass of the actual original 808s there. So this is a useful thing. I did turn it down quite a bit because I thought it was too loud and it was muddying up the whole kind of bass region. And I also thought that there was too much low end on this. You know, we don't want the low end on this conflicting with the low end on the original 808. So I reduced a lot of that with this. Yeah, so when I took that out, you'll see that it feels like it's really missing something. This is nicely kind of filling in the mid-range of the track, as well as providing, as I say, kind of that help to make the 808 translate on smaller speakers. Then we've got the main melody of the song here. And again, I've turned it down a little bit. Thought it was a little bit too loud. I've done some basic EQ and some basic compression here. But I'll turn these off and show you it without those first. Yeah, so a really simple EQ curve, as you see, just cutting a little bit here on this kind of 250 part here. I just thought it was creating a little bit of a resonance that I didn't like, so I'll just remove that a little bit. And I've also tried to just brighten it up a little bit here as well with this. Let me solo this. Just helping to clean it up a little bit, you know. Then we added this compression here, which is just literally just taming it a little bit. Some moments it kind of pokes out in a way that I didn't like. So I just added this light compression with the R compressor just to tame it and control the dynamics a little bit. Why I really like the R compressor. It can be so transparent. You know, you can do quite a bit of reduction with the R compressor and not hear too many kind of side effects from the compression. So it's really subtle. And then we have this pluck here. And all I've done here is EQ'd this, tried to bring out a little bit of brightness from it. You know, you'll notice that there's not a whole lot in the beat that's really bringing any kind of brightness in the upper ranges up here. So I tried to kind of use this to add a little bit of high end into the beat. And you'll hear this is making a little bit of difference here. Then as you'll see, I'm just using the S1 imager there to add a little bit more width, because again, there wasn't a whole lot of kind of stereo information on the beat. I wanted to bring out any more elements that I could that spreaded out the stereo field of the beat a little bit. And we have this sound here called Clockwork. All I've done with that is just added this EQ. Obviously it's hitting right here on this at this frequency here. So rather than turning the whole sound down and reducing the other information that was here, I decided to just add a little cut there, and it just kind of tames it out a little bit and just kind of smooths out the frequency range of that particular sound on that moment. And that was all I did with all the individual stems in this instrumental. The final thing that I did was on the actual bus for this instrumental. I used the Greg Wells Mix-Centric plugin, and I really like this plugin. I'm not one of these people who's against using these kind of one knob plugins. If it works, it works. You know, pull some of these plugins up and just see what they do, see if they add anything. And I think this was just helping to bring a little bit of brightness as well as a little bit of control and compression over the whole instrumental. So I'll play it without this and with it. And just to be clear, this is on the actual bus of the instrumental. So this is kind of processing the whole instrumental as a whole. Yeah, so as you'll hear, it's giving it a little bit of boost in level, but it's also adding quite a bit of high end as well to it. But I actually liked it, how it was doing that. And it's also kind of gluing it together a little bit with a little bit of compression. So I liked what this did. I did have to go back and reduce some of the high end boost that I did on a couple of things, because as you'll hear, this does add quite a big kind of high end lift or boost to whatever you add it to. So it is important when you put this on, you know, if it's making it too harsh, too much high end on particular things like hats, then it's important to go back and adjust that accordingly, which is what I did on this. So yeah, that's the finished mix for the instrumental. I'll just play this little part here going from the chorus into the verse, and then we're going to dive into vocals. Okay, so onto vocals now, and you'll see here that there's a number of things here contained within this vocal bus. So all of these output to this one vocal bus, which is bus 2. And the only things that actually came to me originally was this channel, these 2 ad-libs, and this here. And all these other things are things that I've kind of created for the purpose of the mix. So I've created these delay throws, these reverb throws, another delay throw here. I've created a kind of fake double here, which we'll get to later on. And then, as I say, everything else came with the project when it came to me. So all we have is a main chorus vocal and a main verse vocal and a couple of ad-libs. So let's go through that first. I'll play you the finished sound and how it sounds right now before we dive into how I actually mixed it, so you can get a feel for what's happening here.
Only facts, you know we don't got no cat. Y'all been sleep, I let you nap. You want greatness and I'm that. Only facts, it's only facts. Shorty pretty, shorty strap. Send your number through the snap. Fuck that talking, where you at? Only facts, I want that. Yeah, give me that. Yeah, I need that. Yeah, give me that. Yeah, I want that.
So that's the chorus, and then we head into the verse here.
Back in the cut, fucking it up. There was a wolf before you heard a rust. I got the hits and beat you to the punch. Paula Deanna, you doing too much. Be cuffed. I don't have to get on women, cause they get on me. I know she say you ain't gon' hungry, hip on me. My luck with love is bad, but I won't let it grip on me. No, it's the truth. I do what it do. I give 180% to the shit I pursue. You know the rule. In case you confused.
So as you'll hear, pretty straightforward rap, chorus and verse, not too much going on, but I have added a few things to kind of spice it up a little bit. But let's start with this chorus vocal, seeing as that's the first thing that comes in the track. And also the processing that I've done on that is very similar to what I did on the verse. There's just a few differences, which we'll get to. So I'm going to first of all take off These couple of things that I actually added to the vocal bus, and then all of these things as well. And I'll play you the raw vocal before we dive into how I treated it all.
Only facts, you know we don't. Only facts, you know we don't got no cat. Y'all been sleep, I let you nap. You want greatness and I'm that. Only facts, it's only facts. Shorty pretty, shorty strap.
Yeah, so as I mentioned on the intro of the video, you'll hear that there's quite a lot of rumble and kind of low end bumps and knocks going on. I don't know if this is just the way it was recorded or the mic was being hit or it's just kind of plosives coming through the mic. But the first thing we had to deal with was that. So I used this F6 plugin, first of all, EQ plugin, to just kind of reduce that. You'll see here I've got a high pass filter and I'm also reducing some kind of low mids here as well as a slight boost here. And this is generally what I like to do. The first thing I start with is kind of the subtractive EQ or the corrective EQ, kind of sorting out any issues that we've got before we dive into compression and any kind of sweetening up EQs that we get to later as well.
Only facts, you know we don't got no cat. Y'all been sleep, I let you nap. You want greatness and I'm that. Only facts, it's only facts. Shorty pretty, shorty strap. Send your number through the snap. Fuck that talking, where you at? Only facts, I want that.
So you see this EQ is doing a great job of just reducing those kind of rumbles and the real low end parts of the vocal that we don't really want, and also reducing some of the muddiness in the vocal as well. Next we go into the first de-esser, and there's a couple of de-essers in the chain here, but this is the first one of my favorite de-essers. This is the standard just de-esser from Waves.
Only facts, you know we don't got no cat. Y'all been sleep, I let you nap. You want greatness and I'm that. Only facts, it's only facts. Shorty pretty, shorty strap. Send your number through the snap.
So pretty straightforward. I don't want to make this lispy at all. I just want to kind of take off some of those peaks of the S's and the harsh sibilants in there.
Only facts, you know we don't. Only facts, you know we don't got. Only facts, you know we don't got no.
Then we move into the first compressor in the chain, and this is our compressor. Again, still one of my favorite compressors. I still use on pretty much every mix that I do.
Only facts, you know we don't got no cat. Y'all been sleep, I let you nap. You want greatness and I'm that. Only facts, it's only facts. Shorty pretty, shorty strap. Send your number through the snap. Fuck that talking, where you at? Only facts, I want that.
So again, really transparent. It's hopefully not introducing any kind of obvious side effects of the compression. It's literally just bringing the dynamics together, you know, lowering the peaks and the high points and bringing up the low points. You know, we're taking off about 6, 7.
Only facts, you know we don't got no cat. Y'all been sleep, I let you nap.
Kind of between 3 and 7 or 8 dB of reduction here, but then we're boosting up with the makeup gain of 5 dB. So that's helping to bring up the quiet parts and kind of tame the more dynamic parts. And this just helps the vocal to really sit on top of the beat more. In fact, let me play this with the instrumental with and without so you can see what I'm saying.
Only facts, you know we don't got no cat. Y'all been sleep, I let you nap. You want greatness and I'm that. Only facts, it's only facts. Shorty pretty, shorty strap.
Yeah, so when that's engaged, you'll hear that it's just standing above the beat and competing with the instrumental a lot better. When this is bypassed, it's kind of getting lost in the instrumental a little bit. Next, we went into this Abbey Road saturator, and this is just helping to bring out some brightness as well as some saturation in the high end. And this is the first kind of sweetening that I've tried to do on the vocal. I thought it was a little bit subdued, not exciting enough, not enough high end. So this is adding that little bit of brightness that we need.
Only facts, you know we don't got no cat. Y'all been sleep, I let you nap. You want greatness and I'm that. Only facts, it's only facts. Shorty pretty, shorty strap. Send your number through the snap. Fuck that talking, where you at? Only facts, I want that.
Yeah, so really adding some brightness and some saturation to the vocal. I've got this here at 40%. You know, I messed around with this between kind of 20 and 40. It obviously is introducing quite a bit of sibilance and it's making the S's too harsh, but we deal with that later on with another de-esser. Next, we went into another EQ, which is kind of EQ to taste. You know, this is helping just add even a little bit more sparkle, a little bit more presence in the mid-range, reducing a little bit down here and the low end as well. And I like to use a kind of vintage, kind of flavorful EQ like this for these kind of boosts up in the higher ranges.
Only facts, you know we don't got no cat. Y'all been sleep, I let you nap. You want greatness and I'm that. Only facts, it's only facts. Shorty pretty, shorty strap. Send your number through the snap. Fuck that talking, where you at? Only facts, I want that.
So because of these increases in the high end, obviously we're getting a lot of sibilance and some harshness on the S's and the upper ranges of the vocal sound. So we drew for another de-esser, and this is sibilance. And this is hopefully just taming some of those S's that we just introduced with those couple of touches there.
Only facts, you know, we don't got no cat. Y'all been sleep, I let you nap. You want greatness and I'm that. Only facts, it's only facts. Shorty pretty, shorty strap. Send your number through the snap. Fuck that talking, where you at? Only facts, I want that.
Yeah, so just helping to tame them down. Now at the bottom of the chain here, we've got another compressor, and this is the CLA2A, and this is again just helping to tame the dynamics a little bit more. I'm only kissing this a slight bit, just helping with the levels and keeping things in check.
Only facts, you know, we don't got no cat. Y'all been sleep, I let you nap. You want greatness and I'm that. Only facts, it's only facts. Shorty pretty, shorty strap. Send your number through the snap. Fuck that talking, where you at? Only facts, I want that.
Okay, so let me play this now as it is with the instrumental, and then we'll dive into the other things that we added, such as the delays and reverbs.
Only facts, you know, we don't got no cat. Y'all been sleep, I let you nap. You want greatness and I'm that. Only facts, it's only facts. Shorty pretty, shorty strap. Send your number through the snap. Fuck that talking, where you at? Only facts, I want that. Give me that. I need that. Give me that. I want that. Give me that.
So as you hear, with all that on, it's making a massive difference, really bringing them out, making them sit in line with the beat or on top of the beat, exactly how we want a hip-hop vocal to sound. We'll take a look at these reverbs and delays now quickly, and then we'll dive into these couple of things I added here as well that are important onto the actual vocal bus here. So we've got 3 sends here. First one is a slap delay, second one is an 8th note delay, and third one is a small reverb. We'll start with the slap delay here, and all we're using for this is H delay. So we've got H delay here on a 154 milliseconds. Obviously the dry wet knob is all the way up. We're doing some filtering here, low pass and high pass, and I've got the lo-fi setting on. I've also turned off the analog here because that introduces a little bit of noise and hiss into the signal, and I don't want that.
Only facts, you know, we don't got no cat. Y'all been sleep, I let you nap. You want greatness and I'm that. Only facts, it's only facts. Shorty pretty, shorty strap. Send your number through the snap. Fuck that talking, where you at? Only facts, I want that.
So I always like to add a slap delay to vocals like this, you know, where the track is quite empty. It just helps to kind of put the vocals in a nice space, and I just really like a slap delay on a rap vocal. Second thing here, as I mentioned, is a 8th note delay. For that, again, we're using H delay, filter in here, high pass and low pass. And we've also inverted the phase here as well.
Only facts, you know, we don't got no cat. Y'all been sleep, I let you nap. You want greatness and I'm that. Only facts, it's only facts. Shorty pretty, shorty strap. Send your number through the snap. Fuck that talking, where you at? Only facts, I want that.
So you can hear that when I press stop on this, you'll hear the kind of tail of this delay.
Only facts, you know, we don't got no cat.
I want to discuss the other things that I've got here on this delay channel after the actual H delay that I just showed you. First of all, we've got a reverb at the end of it, and this is, you know, just blending in a little bit of reverb just to kind of soften this delay and put it further back in the mix. But the other things we've got here is a couple of R compressors, and these are side chains. So first of all, I'm side chaining in this chorus vocal into this delay so that when the vocal is playing and when there's words being said, this is kind of ducking and pushing down on the delay and turning it down so that it's not competing with the vocal. The other one here is the same thing, but from the verse vocal. So I'm using 2 side chained R compressors, one with the chorus vocal going into it and one with the verse vocal, because I'm also sending this verse vocal to this delay. I hope that makes sense.
Cat, y'all been sleep, I let you nap. You want greatness and I'm that. Only facts, it's only facts.
Yeah, so as I say, it just helps to kind of duck this delay when the vocal's playing and when there's words being said on the main vocal, so that it's not kind of clashing with it, and it pokes up more when there's space and when there's gaps for it to poke up. And that's all we did on that 8th note delay. Next we have a small reverb. Play with and without this.
You want greatness and I'm that. Only facts, it's only facts. Shorty pretty, shorty strap. Send your number through the snap. Fuck that talking, where you at? Only facts, I want that.
Yeah, so not a massive reverb. You know, we don't want to add a big reverb to a rap vocal, but I think it just does help to kind of add a little bit of ambience and space to the vocal. And for this, we're using H reverb on a kind of medium decay time. I've done some stuff with the EQ here as well, kind of took out some of the super high end on the reverb tail here. And I've also added an EQ to the end of this reverb and just took out some of the muddiness and the low end down here that we don't really want.
Only facts, you know we don't got no cat. Y'all been sleep, I let you nap. You want greatness and I'm that. Only facts, it's only facts. Shorty pretty, shorty strap. Send your number through the snap. Fuck that talking, where you at? Only facts, I want that.
So that's all the kind of spatial or ambient effects that I added to this vocal, and I think that's all it really needed. I'll play it now with the instrumental and those sends on, so you can feel how it's sounding now.
Only facts, you know we don't got no cat. Y'all been sleep, I let you nap. You want greatness and I'm that. Only facts, it's only facts. Shorty pretty, shorty strap. Send your number through the snap. Fuck that talking, where you at? Only facts, I want that.
So the other couple of things here that I wanted to mention, and I didn't know whether to bring this up now or bring this up at the end when we finish the vocals, but I thought it was a good idea to kind of bring it now because this does affect the sound of the vocals. And even though I kind of added this toward the end of the mix, I think it's good to mention it now. So first of all, we've got the Greg Wells voice-centric plugin. And this is actually on the bus itself. So this is on the vocal bus rather than the vocal channel. I'll play you with and without this and see if you like what this is doing.
Only facts, you know we don't got no cat. Y'all been sleep, I let you nap. You want greatness and I'm that. Only facts, it's only facts. Shorty pretty, shorty strap. Send your number through the snap. Fuck that talking, where you at? Only facts, I want that.
So quite subtle, not doing a massive amount. As you see, I've got the reverb and delay turned off on this. It's adding a little bit of kind of brightness and a little bit of compression as well. And then I've got this doubler effect, which is just slightly spreading out the vocals that little bit in the speakers, you know.
Only facts, you know we don't got no cat. Y'all been sleep, I let you nap. You want greatness and I'm that. Only facts, it's only facts. Shorty pretty, shorty strap. Send your number through the snap. Fuck that talking, where you at? Only facts, I want that. Yeah, give me that.
So yeah, really kind of subtle adjustment there, but I liked it, so I kept it on. And then we have Abbey Road tape plugin here as well on the end of everything. I often like to add tape emulation to the end of my vocals. I use various ones, but I really like this one. This just helps to kind of add that kind of analog vintage feel on the end of a vocal. All I've done here is adjusted the in and out, so I've boosted up the input a little bit on this. I've added a touch of saturation as well.
Only facts, you know we don't got no cat. Y'all been sleep, I let you nap. You want greatness and I'm that. Only facts, it's only facts. Shorty pretty, shorty strap. Send your number through the snap. Fuck that talking, where you at? Only facts, I want that.
So again, really subtle, you know, you can really do with or without this. And the same goes for the Greg Wells thing that I added before, you know. These are not really necessary, but I just like to add them. I think that little bit of saturation just helps them to add a little bit of grit and kind of flavor to the vocal. I'll show you what this sounds like when I boost the saturation up. See what you think to it.
Only facts, you know we don't got no cat. Y'all been sleep, I let you nap. You want greatness and I'm that. Only facts, it's only facts. Shorty pretty, shorty strap. Send your number through the snap. Fuck that talking, where you at? Only facts, I want that.
Yeah, so as you start to turn that up, it sounds nice up to a certain point, and then it gets a little bit too much of a kind of effect and an obvious sound, which I wasn't really going for on this particular song. So the other things on this chorus that I added to kind of add some more vibe and feel was, first of all, this delay throw here. So this is just repeating these lines here. Obviously, there's some gaps here in between these lines, so I just wanted to add a little delay throw just to kind of fill that space and add a nice little effect.
Wet, only facts, I want that. Yeah, give me that. Yeah, I need that. Yeah, give me that. Yeah, I want that. Yeah, give me that. Yeah, I need that. Yeah.
So without it, I thought it sounded a little bit empty. Now all we did to create this is I duplicated this chorus main channel, dragged it up here, but then I added on the end of all the other processing that we've done, I just added a delay and a reverb. Now obviously the delay dry wet needs to be all the way up on this, and I'm just using 8th note again, a little bit of filtering, and then I've added this H reverb on the end down at 20%-ish on there as well. So this creates the delay sound. Let me play it on its own.
I want that. Give me that. I need that. Give me that. I want that. Give me that.
Yeah, so really straightforward. This is how I like to create delay throws. Obviously, also I would have kind of cut these words and dragged them up, copied and pasted them up to this channel, and just copied and pasted the words that I want in the delay basically up to this channel above. This is how I like to create delay throws. I think it's more straightforward and also allows me to experiment much more easy. I can just drag words up and see how they sound. I can even do little, you know, fades to just kind of smooth things in or out. So yeah, this is how I like to create delay throws, and I think you'll agree that without this, it sounds a little bit empty.
Wet, only facts, I want that. Yeah, give me that. Yeah, I need that. Yeah, give me that. Yeah, I want that. Yeah, give me that. Yeah.
Now the other thing I did was I created this kind of fake double channel here. And the reason I did this was because, you know, this is a chorus and I wanted some parts of this chorus to kind of stand out and be different to the verse vocal, which we'll get to in a second. So I wanted to create this double here. And all I did with this is, again, duplicated this channel down. But then at the end of it, I added this vocal bender plugin, which is basically just a pitch plugin. Allows you to pitch up or down vocals. And then I put a doubler on the end of it. So we play this in solo.
I want that. Give me that. I need that. Give me that. I want that. Give me that. I need that.
So the reason I use this pitch bend plugin here is just to create a different sound between this and the main vocal. You know, if I'd have left this off, I'm basically just turning the vocal above up, if you know what I'm saying. So if you create an exact duplicate of your vocal channel and just copy and paste the same vocal to it, all you're really doing is adding a second layer. It's going to just turn the layer up rather than creating an actual different feel for those particular words. So for these particular words that I copy and pasted down onto this channel, I wanted to make them sound different from the main layer here. I thought the best way to do that would be just pitching it down by 1 semitone. And then, as I said, I added this doubler effect, which kind of just creates a fake double of it and spreads it out into the stereo field. We play it with the main vocal here.
Only facts, I want that. Yeah, give me that. Yeah, I need that. Yeah, give me that. Yeah, I want that. Yeah, give me that. Yeah, I need that. Yeah, give me that. Yeah.
So it's really subtle, and when it's in with the song, it's really not kind of discernible. You can't necessarily hear it, but I think you can feel it. You can tell that it's just added a certain emphasis on these lines here. Now, in an ideal world, really, you would record another kind of take of this. And if you get hold of this template, then it would be best for you not to duplicate the top channel like I have here, but to actually record your own kind of stabs or BVs, background vocals, to this layer here, and that will create a nicer sound. And in that case, you could even turn off the vocal pitcher plugin completely and just have your actual different take there with maybe a different tone or timbre in your voice. But obviously, in the case of this song, I didn't have a background vocal or a stab for those words, so I had to kind of create them. And that's how I went about doing that on this. Now, on this chorus, we also have these ad-libs here, really simple kind of little words here being said.
Wet, only facts, I want that. Yeah, give me that. Yeah. What?
I just wanted to create a different feel and a different sound for these ad-libs. So all I did was, again, copy and pasted the channel settings from this chorus main onto these. But then I did a kind of high pass and low pass filter with the EQ here to kind of create that phone or radio effect.
What?
And then at the end of the chain, I added the chroma tape, and I used this on 7.5 speed. I added a little bit of flux and turned the level up. And this is just helping to create a little bit of kind of distortion or kind of breaking up of the sound here to kind of differentiate it from the main vocal. So I'll play it with and without this.
Yeah, give me that. Yeah, I want that. Yeah, give me that. Yeah, I need that.
Yeah, so the chroma tape thing that I showed you, it's not necessary, it's not essential. The main thing that's creating the sound here is this EQ high and low pass filter we've added, but this just helps again to just add a little bit of distortion, saturation, and tape kind of compression to them to add a different feel. And that's the end of the chorus vocals. We'll look at the verse vocals now. And the first thing to mention is that the settings are very similar. I've literally copy and pasted the settings from the chorus onto the verse here. There was no need for me to really do anything massively different. I think the only change here is that I reduced a little bit of the send. So on the chorus vocal, you'll see that I've got more going out to the reverb, the delays. And on this verse vocal here, is slightly reduced. So that's something I like to do often, is just kind of add a little bit more wetness, a little bit more reverb, a little bit more delay to my chorus vocals than my verse vocals. So the verse vocal can kind of stand a little bit cleaner and kind of be heard on its own a little bit more. And then the verse vocal comes in, it's a little bit more wet, it's a little bit more ambient. So that's really the only difference that I added here between the verse and the chorus. And I think for a song like this, there's really no need to kind of try and create a whole different sound for the chorus and the verse. On other songs, definitely, that's something I do. But the only real difference here is, like I say, there's a little bit more wetness on this chorus. And then obviously I've added this fake double to the second half here as well, which I haven't done on the verse. So that's really the only differences. But I'll play through this verse anyway. And then we'll also talk about some of these added little touches that I added here as well with the delay throw and stuff.
Back in the cut, fucking it up. There was a wolf before you heard a rust. I got the hits and beat you to the punch. Paula Deanna, you doing too much. I heard the news and I knew you get cut. You heard the fuss and you knew it was us. Rapper police know I wanted this cause I'm behind these bars but I'm yet to be cuffed. I don't have to get on women cause they get on me. I know she say you ain't gon' hungry, hip on me. My luck with love is bad, but I won't let it grip on me. All my Latin women say te amo when and dip on me. Pero yo vivo la raza, soy Eddie Guerrero. Virando bruscamente en Camero. Me chingo tu puta cada vez que quiero. Que esperaba esa vez soy un perro. Actually lobo, my hand on the bum like I'm touching a hobo.
Yeah, so I just wanted to play that through and just show you all the processing is pretty much the same. You'll see everything that I'm doing there. Refer back to the chorus if you skipped ahead for this, because yeah, it's the same processing, EQ, compression, de-essing, and then the various sends, reverbs and delays that I showed you there as well. The only difference is here, I've added a few delay throws here. I'm used the same delay throw that I used on the chorus for some of these lines here.
When I'm yet to be cuffed, I don't have to get on women cause I'm hungry, hip on me. My luck with love is bad, but I won't let it grip on me. All my Latin women say te amo when and dip on me. Pero yo vivo la...
So again, you know, just to add a little touch, we've not got any BVs, we've not got any ad-libs for this track on this verse. So these things just add a little bit of excitement, a little bit of ear candy, and just something to kind of grab the listener's attention. But then we've got another delay throw down here, which is a slower one. So it's the same settings from the one I showed you on the chorus, but I've slowed it down to a quarter note. And sometimes this is good, you know, to have different kind of timings, delays within one song. You know, different timings work for different lines. So you'll see here the lines are spaced out quite a bit. So I've used these little delay throws here to kind of fill the gaps.
Credible, then go home. I'm sliding on thin ice with her like I'm frozen. You know it's the truth. I do what it do. I give 180% to the shit I pursue. You know the rule. In case you confused. Don't bother.
So I could have used the 8th note. So let me show you what this would have sounded like with the 8th note delay instead there.
Thin ice with her like I'm frozen. You know it's the truth. I do what it do. I give 180% to the shit I pursue.
But it's a little bit too fast, you know, the gaps are bigger here, so I went with the quarter note.
You know it's the truth. I do what it do. I give 180% to the shit I pursue. You know the rule.
Yeah, I thought that really worked. And then another thing I did here was created this reverb throw for these last 3 words here. You'll hear what this is doing.
All a block, boy, cause my niggas ready to shoot. Only facts, you know we don't got no cat. Ready to shoot. Only facts, you know we don't got no.
Yeah, so on these 3, you know, he repeats the word shoot here 3 times. And all I did to create that again was duplicated the main verse channel, and then I just added the H reverb long on the end of it with quite a big decay time, wet knob all the way up.
Boy, cause my niggas ready to shoot.
And this is just a cool effect, you know, to kind of end the verse and transition into the chorus. I just liked how it sounded. Let me play this from back here.
In case you confused, jump all the block, boy, cause my niggas ready to shoot. Only facts, you know we don't got no cat. Y'all been sleep, I let you nap.
So with moments like that, it's just about identifying, you know, certain things throughout the song that could maybe benefit from a little effect like that. And there wasn't too many moments in this particular song, but that moment there, I just thought that worked really well. Okay, so coming to the end of the mix, it's time for some master bus processing, and I tried to keep it really simple as I did with the rest of the mix. Just added a few things here to my master bus, mostly just to kind of give the track a little push as well as obviously bring the levels up and the overall kind of volume of the song up to kind of competitive levels. It's not super crushed, it's not super loud, because I like to keep a lot of the dynamics of the mix in there, and I like to fix any issues also in the actual mixing stage rather than the mastering stage. But these are the things that I did on the master bus. Let me turn all of this off and we'll go through it one by one. So the first thing is this SSL bus compressor, and this is the basic kind of glue compression that I added to the overall mix. I've used this mastering preset here, but I've also used the sidechain filter and kind of filtered out the low end so that the low end is not triggering the compression and it's only triggering above 130 hertz.
Only facts, you know we don't got no cat. Y'all been sleep, I let you nap. You want greatness and I'm that. Only facts, it's only facts. Shorty pretty, shorty strap. Send your number through the snap. Fuck that talking, where you at? Only facts, I want that.
Really subtle, it's just helping to add a little bit of glue. Now the next thing I've used is this mushroom pusher, or infected mushroom pusher. Crazy name on this plugin, but I like what this does, you know, using it subtly. I don't want to go too mad with this. But as you see, I've kind of adjusted a few things. So I've added a little bit of this magic knob here, a little bit high, a little bit of low. I've used this push a little bit, which I thought just helped bring the levels up a little bit and add some nice kind of body to the track. And then I've spread out the stereo image with this dial here as well. So we play this in and out. Hopefully you can see what it's doing.
Only facts, you know we don't got no cat. Y'all been sleep, I let you nap. You want greatness and I'm that. Only facts, it's only facts. Shorty pretty, shorty strap. Send your number through the snap. Fuck that talking, where you at? Only facts, I want that. Yeah, give me that. Yeah, I need that. Yeah, give me that. Yeah, I want that. Yeah, give me that. Yeah, I need that. Yeah, give me that. Yeah, back in the cut. It up. There was a whoop before you heard a rust. I got the hits and beat you to the punch. Paula Deanna, you doing too much. I heard the news and I knew you get cut.
Yeah, so I just wanted to play around with a few of the dials there to kind of demonstrate what the plugin can do. I actually really quite like this plugin. The next thing I added was the first limiter in the chain, and this is helping to bring a lot of level to the song. You know, in terms of gain staging and kind of how I structure the volume of the track, it's really quite low up until this point. I don't like to kind of overload any of the plugins or any of the buses, so things were kept quite low in the mix overall up until this stage here, and this is where I'm really bringing up the level with this particular limiter here. So this is the L3 multi-maximizer, and I'm pulling down 5 on here.
You heard the fuss and you knew it was us. Rapper police know I wanted this cause I'm behind these bars, but I'm yet to be cut. I don't have to get on women cause they get on me. I know she say you ain't gon' hungry, hip on me. My luck with love is.
As you'll see, it's not doing like a huge amount of gain reduction. We're maybe down here at kind of -4, -5 at the real peaks. And you'll see it's just bringing down kind of when the snare hits and when the kick hits, it's mostly just kind of taming off some of the big transients there. Then we have another limiter here, and I often like to use 2 limiters instead of 1, just for different feels and different vibes. And also this one is a true peak limiter, and this one is down at -0.5 on the ceiling, just so we're never touching 0 on here. So this is adding another little bit of level to the overall master.
Do the snap, fuck that talking, where you at? Only facts, I want that. Yeah, give me that. Yeah, I need that. Yeah, give me that. Yeah, I want that. Yeah, give me that. Yeah, I need that. Yeah, give me that. Yeah.
So yeah, not a massive amount of gain reduction on this. It's just like -1 or 2 dB maximum on that. And that's how I like to keep it, so all your limiters are not working too hard. And you'll see here I'm using this WLM meter here to just kind of monitor where my short-term and long-term loudness is at. And for this one, we're around -10, I think, generally.
Greatness and I'm that. Only facts, it's only facts. Shorty pretty, shorty strap. Send your number through the snap.
So this is a nice number for me. I generally don't like to be louder than kind of -9 and no quieter than kind of -11, -12. So this is where I like to be generally. And that's really as basic as it was on the master bus for this. Not a whole lot. No EQ on there. You know, any EQ stuff I wanted to fix in the actual mix. So I didn't add any EQ touches on the master bus here, other than the couple of things that this is doing with the low and the high here. But that's really it. A really simple and basic master kind of bus there. Literally just trying to bring the level up to a nice point. I kept it pretty simple. So guys, that's the end of the video. If you got this far and you liked what you saw, please consider clicking the like button or dropping a comment. Give me some feedback, some pointers, some questions. I'm open to anything. Check out my other mix walkthroughs if you want to see more videos like this. I'm doing one every month for 2025. And if you want to get your hands on the mix template that I created from this exact project that I'm showing in this video, please check out the link in the description for my Etsy page and consider purchasing that. If you have any questions or queries, please feel free to get in touch, and hopefully I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.